everybody, and welcome to the Be Elite podcast. My name is Mr. Smith. I am the podcast advisor here. We have a very special episode today. We are talking life preparedness. So getting our high school students ready for life. We have two very special guests joining us today. We have our director of CTE here at Elite Academic Academy, Mrs. Kirkland. Welcome. And we have our very own school counselor, Miss Lively. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. And of course, we have our podcast team. I have to introduce our podcast team, the longest running podcaster on the Elite Squad, Cindy. Welcome.
Yay, Cindy.
Cindy is awesome. Absolutely. And then next we have the guy that provides the music, the music backdrop for our podcast. He's such a great addition to the podcast. Jaden, welcome.
Yeah.
And joining us, she has been with us for actually quite a few months now in the podcast. Tiana, welcome.
Tiana, she's so artistic too.
She is, yeah. She's always drawing something cool. All right, so today, like I said, we are talking about life preparedness. So we have three separate topics we're going to talk about. I want to jump into the first one right away because it's a big one, and it's college. So I want to talk to everybody about college, about tuition, about transcripts, and about that thing called FOSFA, because it could be very daunting if you're not even sure what the heck it is. So first, let me go ahead and throw it out there to Miss Lively. So if we have students that are interested in going to college, whether they're 9th grade or 12th grade, what are the first steps for them? What should they be doing?
Yeah, good question. So the first thing I want to share is that I am absolutely here to support all of our students through this entire process because it can be confusing. There's a lot to remember, a lot of deadlines, that kind of stuff. So if you ever have any questions about anything college or career or anything post-high school, I am always here for you. But I definitely recommend that students start looking early. Some students look as early as 8th grade. You don't have to do that, but it's a good time to start thinking about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself and, stress out, but it's a good idea to start thinking like, do I want to be in a big city? Do I even want to go to college? Would I like to be in a small town? Start kind of thinking about who you are and your personality and what might be a good fit for you. And then as you move towards senior year, increasing the amount of research you're doing, exploring colleges, maybe doing some college visits, campus visits. There's lots of great virtual visits as well. So it's a good time to start early, or it's a good idea to start early and just kind of ramp up the amount that you're investigating and researching as you near senior year.
I know that there's like places where you can search online for universities. Also, I think there's a website where you could just look through universities. Because I know during this time, there's not a lot of universities that are open for tours. Mm-hmm. So that's how I found the university I wanted to go to. I was looking online and then I saw the university I wanted to go to. I was looking for a huge library. So I was like, oh, that one has a library and it's 8 stories. So I'm like, I'm going there.
That's a great point, Cindy Lou. And there is a website called UVisit that has virtual tours of tons of campuses. So it's like YouTube, YOU, but visit. And you can just choose any college around the country and do a virtual visit or watch videos as well. But that's a great point, Cindy, that you mentioned. I want a big library. So that's a cool thing to know. And that kind of narrows your search down. You could also think, do I want to do study abroad? What are the schools in the country that have really good study abroad programs? Do I want to stay in California, which then you get into in-state versus out-of-state tuition. So what that is, it's usually cheaper in-state to go to college in the state that you live in. Once you start moving out of state, depending on, of course, if you get scholarships or things like that, then you pay out-of-state tuition rates, and those are usually higher. So that's something to think about too. And we're fortunate in California. We have an incredible system of colleges. The CSU system, which is the California State University system, and also the UC system, which is the University of California. And they're phenomenal colleges. So those are really good to explore too.
Oh, also, I wanted to ask if you could send us the links to like those websites so we could put it in the description below.
Absolutely.
So that they can just find it easier.
Yes.
Awesome.
So.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, I always talk. So you're saying like, because you're saying that you're always there, and I second that you're always there. I always go to Miss Lively asking questions about it because I always forget that I'm going to miss a deadline for something. And it scares me. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to miss something. And then she always sorts me out. And then there's also like, I know there's a website to like different scholarships that you can look through. that you have, and there's so many different resources as long as you like go to her and talk to her.
Yeah, absolutely. I will provide you guys with the links for that as well. But I have a scholarship spreadsheet that has tons of scholarships that it's listed by month. So you know when to apply when they open. And then there's also great websites. And honestly, Google can be your best friend too if you have a specific idea for a scholarship. But yes, my door is always open. I'll provide you with my Calendly link too. So yourselves and all of our students can make appointments directly with me. Even if it's just a 15-minute pop in and you have a quick question, I'm definitely always here for that.
Great. And now, Cindy Lou, you're actually you've attended a few college classes already concurrently as you're a high school student, correct?
I only been to one. I took I was dual enrollment. I took a Spanish class. I plan on taking more, but I just took a break just for a little bit, just because I didn't have enough time to take another one. But yeah, bringing that up, yeah, there's also a new club I was about to mention that they're talking about. There's a new club at the school, which is also made from a student also and from a teacher, and they have a club that's about colleges and like taking college classes while in high school at the same time, and I think it's really good. And they meet on Fridays at 11. I just wanted to say that.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and I wanted to ask about dual enrollment. What are the advantages for students to do dual enrollment? If I could direct that to either Ms. Lively or Mrs. Kirkland. What do you think the advantages are for dual enrollment here?
Sure.
Well, like from a student point of view, could I say like some of them? Well, I think because I know I was reading a lot about dual enrollment, because I know for colleges it shows that you're already ready for taking college classes and that you can handle them. And also I feel like for taking a dual enrollment, you must like, it's either like taking an AP class or taking a college class. You must like weigh out, like not all colleges even accept like the college credit that you got. So you just have to choose from which university you want to go to or college. You have to see whether or not they accept it and whether or not they prefer that over like AP classes and things like that.
Those are there are a lot of great benefits for dual enrollment, and Cindy Lou mentioned a couple of them. So I think, demonstrating that you are college ready when you do your application for your four-year university, that university can see, wow, this student's already taken some college courses, and that gives them confidence in your ability to enroll in their school and complete courses and graduate, right? That's important to colleges. Will this student graduate from our school? So that's one of the advantages. Also, in high school, it's beneficial for you because you earn double credit. So if you were to take, like Cindy Lou did, Spanish, that knocked out of her whole first year of foreign language, and she was able to earn 10 credits of Spanish rather than 5. So we award double credit for students who take community college courses. So those are just a couple of the key benefits, but it's a great idea. And it also, in my experience, this is what I did. I was a transfer student. I went to community college first, and then I transferred to a four-year university. It helps save you a lot of money. So if you can take some of those courses now, you won't be paying for them because you're a high school student. You don't have to pay the tuition. So it saves you some money. And then when you do transfer in, you can bring those credits with you most of the time. And that cuts down on the classes that you have to pay the full tuition rate at the four-year university. So there's a lot of good.
And I also think, like adding on to what you say, I also think it allows you to like have more time and get more used to like taking college classes and being around college age students, and just like you already know like how it's going to be when you go to college, kind of like you already like adapted kind of, so you won't be like so shocked when you go into a college class from high school. You'll be used to it more.
Another thing too is a lot of the community colleges have career technical education programs where you can go and not just get, the basic classes of your first 2 years of college before transferring over to a 4-year, but you can actually attend a community college and earn a certificate for a career. So if you're doing that while you're going to high school too, like maybe you want to be an auto mechanic, and we put you in some of the auto mechanic courses in high school. It not only satisfies some of your high school elective requirements, but it also will count. So when you transfer into that junior college or community college, you've already taken those classes. So you're transferring in as an 18-year-old, and maybe you're going to graduate with your certificate by the time you were 19. Even 18 and a half, depending on, and you have your mechanic certificate or your auto body shop certificate or a medical certificate as a medical assistant. So a lot of different programs that they have at the community colleges too. So always look up career technical education at the community college, and you can take some of those courses as well. And some of them will just give you college credit too, which is great. If it's something you're just interested in, and then transferring over to a 4-year, but it also gives you an in if you're looking for a job. So maybe you wanted to have a part-time job doing web design for a marketing company right out of high school while you're going to community college, or while you're going to college. You can say, hey, I've already taken some of these design classes at the college when I was in high school. And so you already have a resume by the time you graduate high school to apply for some jobs or internships or apprenticeships or whatever it may be. So it gives you a leg up on other people, some experience, and also something to add that makes you stand out when you're applying to colleges. Because remember, you're a piece of paper when you're applying to colleges. You want to make sure you can put all of these amazing things down on that paper. So putting down that you edit a podcast, or you make beats for our podcast, or you host the podcast. A lot of those things are great things for you guys to make sure that you're putting on your resume. You can build a resume right now. And also when you're applying to colleges.
Great point. Absolutely. And I love how you mentioned the CTE programs, because like I said, it's not just going to get a degree or whatnot. There are so many programs that you can get certificates in that'll lead you directly into a really nice career. So please make sure you check that out.
Culinary certificates you can get, hospitality, marketing. There's so many different certificates out there. So it just, I think it's such a great idea, and that would be a really fun concurrent enrollment class to take, because you're not taking, you're getting all your other academic stuff with Elite, my English and my math and all of that. But wow, how amazing would that be to take a college course that is geared towards something that you're interested in, and that can also benefit you later.
I think it would be better if you take a college course that you're interested in, since then the colleges will look like that you take things that you're interested in instead of doing like what you need to. You do need to do what you need to do, but they also want to see what you're interested in also, not just see you do what everyone else does, and see what you're interested in, what you like the clubs that you're in.
Well, it also, yeah, it gives you those life skills, Cindy Lou, and those soft skills. You learn how to talk and communicate to adults. You learn what all of these industry skills that you're not learning in school. You're learning academic skills in school, but the industry skills and the vocabulary and all of that is a great way to get you a job and get you experience, and also something to see if you're even really interested in that. Miss Lively said that she went to community college. I did too. And guess what? I went to community college for 4 years because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I would sign up for a class, and then I decided I really don't like that. Maybe I don't want to do that. Let me switch. And so it took me a while, and I was working at the same time as I was going to community college. I had to pay my own way through college. And, there were times where I thought, is this really even for me? But I just kept going and trying to find what was it that I was A, really good at, and B, passionate about. And when it came that time, then I soared through school super quick, because I took all these different classes that weren't really for my major that I am now. But when I found my niche, I transferred to a Cal State and I was done really quickly, but it took a while, and that's okay too. You don't always have to know exactly what you want to do or what it is that you're interested in, because
I also think
you know those things if you don't experience them too. So give yourself time to experience as well.
I was going to add to that. Exactly. It's a really great place to play. So I started with one class. I took Spanish, and it was the same thing like Mrs. Kirkland. I was like, I don't know if college is for me, but I kind of want to learn Spanish. And then I just kept adding here and there, and you're not wasting a lot of money. If you do that at a 4-year university, your parents are going to be mad. You're going to have debt. You want to make sure that if you're unsure, community college is a great place to kind of just explore and play and figure out what it is that you're excited about.
Yeah, I'll third that. I also went to community college for quite a long time, far longer than I needed for the 2-year degree. And I took classes that I thought would be cool, and some of them were. I took like, the history of music and, the history of rock and roll, which were
Me too.
awesome. And then I took archaeology and anthropology, and I was bored out of my mind because it sounded fun. But let me tell you, you can only hear so much about shellfish 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row before you get bored to death. But I'm glad I took it at a community college level because I wasn't paying that university amount,
But some people might like hearing about that shellfish, and that's okay.
Absolutely. It just wasn't for me. And the only way I would find out is by trying it. So I agree with both of them. It is a really good place to find yourself and find what you want to do in this world. And to be able to do that. So, I mean, like you said, paying your way through college can be hard. I was working 3 jobs and going to community college. It was hard. I think I slept 4 hours a day, but there's also things in place to help you with that. So Ms. Lively, FAFSA, what is FAFSA and why is it important?
Yeah, great question. So what FAFSA stands for is the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It is going to be a California graduation requirement starting next year. So in order to graduate in California, all seniors will need to complete the FAFSA. And it's not that hard. I think there's a lot of, students are nervous about it. Families can be nervous. It does ask for personal income, information about your parents' income. And that can be a sensitive topic for a lot of people. But there's a lot of great tools and resources to kind of demystify it. It's about seeing how much aid the government can provide you. So it's really important for families and to work together with their students, with their child, to support them and see how much money they can get. And there is a lot of money on the table. Sometimes it could pay for all of your college, depending on your financial situation. And even if you're somebody who you think, well, I don't think I'll qualify, maybe my parents make too much money, you should still complete it and still apply, because then you'll find out what types of loans are available for you and that kind of thing. So FAFSA is the first step in figuring out how you're going to pay for college. And when you apply, you can select different colleges to send that information to, and then those colleges can provide you with award information. So are they going to provide their own special scholarship to you, or how much is their tuition and what does your loan look like? And so that's how you get all of the information about how much college is going to cost you and how you're going to pay for it. And I also want to mention something called Cal Grant. We talk about a lot with seniors, but it's important to learn about Cal Grant as soon as you enter high school. So there are multiple different types of Cal Grant awards, and it's free money for college. It's a grant. So grants are always free. You don't have to pay them back, as opposed to a loan, which you do have to pay back. But Cal Grant there's a couple ways you can earn a Cal Grant, either through financial need. So your family doesn't make a lot of money and maybe you really need some support, and also merit-based, so through your grades. And then you can combine the two. If you have great grades and a high financial need, you can get even more money. So in order to be eligible for Cal Grant, they are used at the UC and CSU schools, and it's based on your GPA. So generally, you'll get the most money from Cal Grant if you have a 3.0 or higher, but you can still receive award money with a 2.0 or higher. So the better your grades, the more money you can get for Cal Grant. And it's a really good thing to keep in mind. And you only can get Cal Grant if you complete the FAFSA. So you can't just show up at, UC Santa Barbara and say, hey, where's my Cal Grant? They're going to say, well, you didn't fill out the FAFSA when you needed to. So it's really important to complete that FAFSA. And that's what triggers the Cal Grant system to know if you're eligible or not, and to communicate that with the schools that you apply to.
I have a question. When do you fill out like the FAFSA form? Like, it's in your senior year, yeah, but do you wait until after you graduate, or do you do it before you graduate?
I'm so glad you asked. That's a great question, because the FAFSA usually opens around October and it closes in March. So it's important, and it's first come, first serve. They distribute the money as people are applying. So you want to be one of the first people in line, right? So the sooner you complete it, the better. We're actually working on integrating it into our economics course. That's what we did this past semester. So when you become a senior at Elite and you enroll in economics in the fall of your senior year, it's going to be all set up for you to walk you through it, and you will be supported in applying. I'm here as well. We can make appointments to help you go through your FAFSA. I've completed multiple FAFSAs with a lot of kids over the years. So good question, Cindy Lou. You want to apply early so you can get more money while the pot is full of money, right? You don't want to leave it on the table and wait until March to apply.
Well, what would happen if you miss like the deadline? Do you have to wait until next year to apply for it?
Yeah, so if you miss the deadline after the FAFSA closes, I believe they have some other ways that you can apply, but you're not going to get as substantial amount of award as you would get if you apply on time and early.
That's great information. And of course, as Ms. Lively said, she's there for you. She's there to help you through every step of that. So make sure you reach out to her. If that's the step you're ready to take. And I'm so happy to hear that it's being integrated into, the requirements for graduation. It absolutely should be. Everybody should do it, whether you think you qualify or not, like she said, because it can be very beneficial. All
and
right.
Even,
go ahead.
Sorry, I'll add to that. Even if you're not sure, if you think I'm not going to college, I'm going right into a career, like I don't need this, I still encourage students to apply, because seeing that dollar amount, if you find out, oh my gosh, they're going to give me $12,000 a year to go to school, maybe I do want to go to college. Sometimes it can change your mind. So it's really important just to apply anyway, just so you have all of the doors open of life, right? And you can keep everything open and make those decisions as you continue through your senior year.
Because nothing is set in stone yet, and you could always change anyway. Like, even if you're like choosing to be something, you could always change it. You don't have to do that. You could always change your major and things like that.
Absolutely.
Good point. Very good point. Well, I want to jump to our next topic in the interest of time, because of course we talked about colleges and the pathways that could take you down, but getting a job is something that's on students' minds as well. So I wanted to ask first, what is a work permit, and when does a student need that work permit? Because that's a question that comes up all the time. So I want to throw it out there to either Ms. Lively or Ms. Kirkland.
Sure, I'll answer. So there are two different types of work permits. If you're under 18 years old, you're going to need a work permit to work regardless. And you can get a work permit in California, I believe as young as 13 years old, but it's very minimal hours. But usually 14, we get requests for 14 to 17-year-olds for work permits. And the first thing that you need to understand is that you have to have a job offer in order to ask for a work permit. So a lot of kids come to me and they're like, I want to get a job, give me a permit. Well, I can't give you a permit until you have a job. So the first thing that you can do is ask me for, or Ms. Lively, for a permit application. And on that application, it basically states your name, your address information, and showing your age. And it's coming from our school. So that person that you're going to go apply with understands, okay, the student is in school and they are of age. And of course, they're going to ask you once you get hired for your social security card and things like that, because they need to make sure that they're reporting your income to the state and the federal and all of that good stuff. But what you need to do first, step one, is you need to look for a job. So you can look at jobs, whether you're driving around somewhere or you're looking online, you can look at like Indeed, or you can go to that specific spot. So when I was in high school, I worked at a restaurant, and I actually just went to the restaurant. I said, hi, are you guys hiring? And they said, well, not at this time. I said, well, can I have an application and I'll turn it in to you? And, you guys can call me if you are hiring, because I'm very interested. So they gave me an application. I filled out the application. A couple weeks later, they called me for an interview. So I sat and talked with the owner. And remember this, when you go in to interview, you want to make sure that you're dressed nice, no holes in your clothes, and, that you're wearing not flip-flops. And so you just want to dress nice and comb your hair, turn your cell phone on vibrate or silence, and you want to look the person in the eye and always shake their hand. Maybe now, because of COVID, you can fist bump or, elbow bump or whatever it may be, whatever the person's comfortable with. But you're going to make sure that you're looking them in the eye and always talk from your experience. So don't answer questions with just yes, no. You want to answer questions with true honesty, showing them your character, who you are. And even if you don't have previous experience, draw upon your experience that you've had. Maybe they'll ask you, are you responsible? Do you show up for time? see you've never had a job before. Well, you want to say, well, yes, I've never had a job before because I'm 15. However, I have babysat for my cousin, or I've babysat for my brother, and I am responsible, and I understand the safety of my cousin, or any type of experience. Or maybe you volunteered. So talk about volunteer experience too, whether you volunteered to mow the neighbor's lawn, or you volunteer at your church, whatever it may be, or you volunteer to help another student at school. So draw upon experience that you have. Once they offer you a job, that's where you get the permit from myself or Ms. Lively, and you give them the permit. Your parents sign the permit, the employer signs the permit, and you sign the permit. And then you return it back to us. Once I see, oh, they were offered a job, I fill out the actual work permit, or Ms. Lively, and according to your age, it has stipulations on there. If you are like 14 and 15, you can only work 4 hours a day on a school day, and it needs to be before 10 p.m., except on days where you don't have school the next day. So from my own experience in high school, when I was working at Outback Steakhouse as a hostess, on Friday and Saturday night, I could work until midnight because I didn't have school the next day. So basically, you're going to want to request an application for a permit. Once you get the job, have your parents, yourself, your employer fill that out, give it back to us, and then we issue the permit and you give it to your boss. You do need to maintain a 2.0 to keep your work permit. So it's important that you're learning that life balance of real responsibility and that work life and earning that money, but also that you are learning and putting your best foot forward in school too. So it is hard to juggle both, but so is life.
I think that's good though, because then when you go to college and you have a job, you already know that you have to put some time for your, like, for school and also work, because then if you spend too much time on one thing. Also, yeah, I wanted to ask, like what you were saying about the interviews, that would also go in hand with colleges. When you do college interviews, you would also like want to answer that way. But also, I wanted to ask if you know of jobs that are like that students would more likely do, like that will not take so much time from their school.
Yeah, so I think a good job is any job where you can be around people, to be honest, because that's where I learned, that was the best skill set that I learned as a teenager. I was very, very shy, hard to believe, growing up for a long time. I was very shy with adults, not with other kids my age, but adults. I was very shy. So that kind of job taught me to be a little bit more outgoing and confident. So my job as a hostess at a restaurant that was really busy at the time, it taught me critical thinking. I had to problem solve. I had to learn to communicate with different types of people, because I had to communicate with customers that were mad because I had to wait an hour to sit at a table. And I had to try and calm them down, be real sweet with them. And then I had to learn how to be quick, right? I had to think quickly. I had to move quickly on my feet. I had to work with people who were older than me. I had to work with some people who were younger than me. I also worked with my sister. So imagine working with your sister too, when you guys are fighting at home and then you're working together. And so I had to learn how to cut that relationship, because I couldn't act like she was my sister at work. And, so I think that any type of job, like I said, working with people is going to teach you so many skills that can be transferred into so many different types of jobs. So working with people, because you're learning how to work with people who are so different than you. They think differently than you. They have different values than you. And that's really where you'll learn who you want to kind of be like and emulate when you grow up too. Because you'll learn that some people don't necessarily think the way that you want to think, or you don't want to be how they are. So there's lots of different types of jobs, but I think working with a variety of people is going to give you the best experience, because if you have the skill set to work with different types of people and to solve problems with different types of people, learning how to talk with different types of people, that can do a job anywhere. Others are skill sets that you can learn either in school or with time and experience, but working with people, probably the best type of job you can get. Because I did work as, I used to babysit, and then I worked at an office for the people that I babysat. They were like a doctor's office, and they hired me to file, and I was alone by myself. And this is not back in the day when we had AirPods. So it would have been like big headphones and a big Walkman, so I couldn't listen to music or anything. And I just had to sit in a boring by myself and file old files. Now we use computers, and that was so boring. And I didn't get to experience anything new. I didn't get to talk to people. I just learned how to alphabetize really well.
Which is still a good skill.
That was my long answer.
Well,
Jaden,
I completely agree.
You said you have experience. Yeah, you have experience filling out a job application, Jaden?
Yeah. I filled out actually a few. One was like McDonald's. They actually hit me back with an interview and stuff. So that was the only one, because I also filled out for Target, but they didn't have no spots open. So for the applications, it really just depends if they're still hiring, because it's not like you could really do an in-person application at most spots now. So that's one thing. And then the interviews, basically, it's not just yes or no questions. It's actually questions where you have to like state more about what you do, and like just more questions than just yes or no's. So basically, it's a little hard if you're nervous, but my advice is probably just don't be nervous and just go along with it.
Yeah, I agree. It is I mean, even as an adult, it's nerve-wracking having an interview, because you feel like you're being judged, right? And you kind of are. But and you're like, did I say the right answer? Did I not say? But I think ultimately what it comes down to is if you are yourself, that is the best answer you could ever give. And that will make you stand out above a lot of people, because a lot of people like to give the general yes, no, yeah answers. But if you're yourself and they can see that you have personality and that you're committed, that's really what they're looking for. But another thing that you mentioned, Jaden, is yes, a lot of applications are all online now, but the best thing you can do is find the human resources or a manager and email them and say, just checking in, I applied online, just want to let you know I'm really interested. Or even calling. Calling is the lost art of these days. And so calling is like, oh, wow, this person called me. They're really interested. So calling and just saying, hi, my name is Jaden Cox. I just want to let you know I applied online. I'm really interested. Just wanted to let you know that my application was submitted. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call me back, or, leaving a message or anything like that is always a great idea.
Yeah, I read an article about that, saying that to call businesses and see if they have any hirings or openings at different places. And also to make sure to always follow up with your application and make sure they got it, since it's like online, to make sure they got it. So then the person has to go and check and see if they actually have it. And so they have to look at it instead of being lost with all the other applications.
Yep.
Oh, that's just what
Very good point. Yeah, that's actually how I got my job at Best Buy, by applying and then calling 3 days later and asking to check the status, and they pulled it up and they're like, oh yeah, come on in for an interview. So I am the odd duck here. I actually love interviews. I was a career developer before, so I know how to ace an interview, but Ashley really nailed it. I mean, Ms. Kirkland, she nailed it when she said, you got to be yourself, because if you're going in there and you're being someone else, you got to think there's all this competition going for the same job. I go in with the mindset, it's my job to lose, and I just need to be myself and highlight who I am. So by doing that, you come across as just so authentic. When I leave an interview and I'm laughing and the interviewer's laughing, I know I got the job. I did that at a college before. I walked out of there just laughing. She was laughing. I walked out that door like, that job's mine. So just having that confidence in yourself and being yourself, it's going to go so far. And I can't wait till everybody starts applying and everything, because I want to hear how that goes, how the interviews go.
Yeah.
That's
If you
always
guys ever want to prepare for an interview too, let us know. We'll be more than happy to do like a mock interview before you go, so you can get all your worries out and just be prepared and nail it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have one more topic to jump into. I know we're pressed on time, but it's one that came up from our students, so I really want to talk about it, and it's driving. So rite of passage, right? Like getting that learner's permit, going in for the driving test, but it can seem extremely scary. First, does any of our students right now, are you going through this right now? Are you getting your permit? Are you going for your license? Are you driving right now? And what is your experience right now?
Well, I actually got my permits around last year. So I've actually finished my last lesson driving. So I do have experience driving. And not gonna lie, probably my first day I was real nervous. But I mean, I was still driving good. I was just a little nervous. So probably my advice for that is just don't be nervous, but don't be too confident to where you driving with one hand, basically, because you will fail. Most definitely.
I have a question. When you started first driving, like the first time, did you press on the brakes a lot? I had that problem at the beginning.
Well, to be honest, I kind of knew how to drive before I got my permit, because when I first drove, I actually stepped on the gas and I almost drove into the garage.
Oh, I did that too. I did
Yeah.
that. So when I first started driving, I stepped on the gas by accident. I was supposed to be backing up. My dad got so scared. He said I was going to take out a wall or something.
Oh no, my brother thought I was trying to kill him because I was about to run into the wall in the garage. So yep.
They don't let me use the gas, and so I have nightmares about being like on the street, not knowing how to use the gas at all, because they don't teach me how to use the gas. They're like, right now you only need to learn about the brake, and so I know how to use the brake. And so like,
backing
whenever I'm
up, you
parking
don't.
the car.
Well, backing up, you don't really need the gas unless you're trying to back up kind of faster. Or yeah. So really, you don't need the gas to break up, but go forward. Yes, you need gas, just not a lot. So
hey, are you guys driving like a manual, like a stick shift, or just an auto?
I want to drive a manual because I actually want to start drifting. That's actually one of my start drifting. So that's probably one of my dreams. But right now I only know how to drive automatic. So yeah, basically that's it.
I have a funny story. When my dad was teaching me to drive, and he was trying to teach me on a stick shift the very first time, and I grew up in Palm Springs, so it's like 120 degrees outside. I don't know why if you stall, the engine turns off, so the air turns off. My dad was so mad because every time I couldn't get out of first gear. And so we're just like in there, just like sweating and the windows up, and he's like, forget it. And then I never wanted to drive again until I discovered automatic. But I did end up driving stick shift for a few years, and it's super fun. But I think it's a skill that everyone should learn, because what if you were in an emergency and zombies came and all you had access to was a stick shift? I think one should learn stick shift. That's my personal opinion. It was hard at first.
I had the same experience, Miss Kirkland. My parents refused to buy me a car unless it was a manual. So I had to learn, if I wanted a car, they weren't going to help pay for anything unless I chose a manual. So my dad taught me. And one of the scarier things, one of my silly stories, is going uphill in a manual car. You have to you have to play with the clutch and the gas to make sure you get into first gear so you don't start rolling backwards, right? If you're going uphill. And my high school was at the top of a hill, and high school traffic backs up, right? So every single morning, it was like this terrifying moment where I'm on the hill, stuck in traffic and just inching my way up. I was so nervous about it that I got one of my other friends who drove to drive behind me every single day to school for like the first, I don't know, 6 weeks while I was getting used to it. So we would meet up at the 7-Eleven, she'd get behind me, and then we'd go to the school, and then she'd give me like 15 feet behind so that if I started rolling backwards, I had enough time to catch up and get into first gear. So you guys are giving me so many nostalgic flashbacks for learning to drive. It's definitely, it's a really fun time and a really nerve-wracking time too.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fun. I've started becoming way too confident to where I actually started driving with one hand. So yeah, it's not bad, but it's also can be very scary because it's just that fear that you might crash, basically. So that's the only thing that's probably the biggest problem. It's not that driving is hard. It's just that fear inside of you that you might crash or mess up. That's inside of you, basically.
Yeah.
Are you taking classes, like driving classes?
Well, I actually finished, so all I have to do is just go to the DMV and then get my license. So basically, that's about it.
So listen, when you do I took the permit test, you guys, 7 times.
Oh, I took it once.
I took it 7 times because I kept failing by like 1 every time. And I took it 5. My older sister took it 7. But so long story short, I got an A 100% on the actual driving test. So if you don't pass your permit test, don't get discouraged because some of the questions are tricky. But I heard that the DMV just put the permit test online, that you can take it online now. So that's kind of amazing because sometimes getting an appointment at the DMV, it's like months wait. But when you go to take your driver's test, Jaden, please exaggerate everything you're doing. So the biggest thing that I was told, the best thing, was when you come to a stop sign and you stop, wait until your back wheels settle down. Because then it shows that you're not doing a California stop, that you're actually like paying attention. So you stop, let it settle, look left, and make sure you're looking right and be very exaggerated about it, and then go. But just make sure that you're stopping, because I hear that is the one thing that a lot of people fail on, is that they are not stopping all the way.
Not gonna lie, I did so many California roads.
Not gonna lie, that's why I said that, Jaden.
California, because it's just like, I've seen my parents so many times, like they see no cars and they just roll by. So it's basically just a habit. Yeah, that was just a habit I had. So every time I see no cars, I automatically just do that. So
you gotta be careful though. Don't do that in neighborhoods. There's kids that will just run out of nowhere. Gotta drive defensively too. So look up defensive driving, because that means that you're not waiting for something to happen to you to react. You're aware of everything going on around you and you're ready to react at any moment.
Right. But they say the driving test actually is way different now, because I think when I was going to like the classes to learn about driving, they said all you had to do is like do left and right turns, and then you had to like kind of parallel park, but it's just parking on the curb basically. So yeah, that's basically it now that I heard.
How was the driving classes? Like, how long were they for?
So the one I did, it was in Lancaster. It lasted 3 days. So I think we had to pay $100 for that. It was for the 3 days. So it wasn't like per day we had to pay $100. It was like $100 for 3 days. And then it basically just go over like what like the test on the, like the permit test basically, or the written test. It basically just goes over that. And then for the driving, it's like $67 per lesson. So they say like you just had to do 3 lessons. Well, that's what I did. I did 3 lessons, and then I'm able to go to the DMV and then take my driver's test.
I think you have to have your permit in order to take a class also.
Yes, if you're driving behind the wheel, that's why I had to take the class, because I didn't really know nothing about the test, so I just took the class. But yes, if you to do the actual behind the wheel, you have to have a permit.
Okay, I don't have a permit. I haven't driven the street yet. I'm only allowed to like park the car. So that's why I'm not even allowed to touch the gas. So I still have nightmares about driving in the street, having no idea how to use the gas. I'm like,
well, that's the thing. That is actually gonna mess you up. You just have confidence that you're not gonna mess up, because that's gonna be the reason why. So yeah, just don't be nervous when you take the test.
Class in the summer. So that means next school year I'll have a license. I'll show you guys my license.
Scary, yeah.
I'm gonna have my lessons this year, I think. For sure.
That's awesome. No, that's great. I think it was a really good discussion on driving, and I really enjoyed the stories on it. But definitely good advice there. I really like to exaggerate everything, because it's true. You want to show like, yes, look at, I'm checking the mirror. I'm checking the mirror. Every part of it. So very, very good advice.
And don't text while you're driving.
Oh, yes. Don't text, don't phone, don't be on the phone like that. No, none of that.
I know there's a lot of rules when you have like your permit and your first year of driving. There's a lot of rules. And I know you have to drive like 50 hours. I think you have to drive 50 hours before you get your license, I think. I don't remember what your license.
Yes, it's actually 50 hours. 50 hours.
And you can't drive after 11 p.m. So I mean, you're supposed to drive for 50 hours, but you can't drive after 11 p.m.
I'm still driving late at night. I don't care. No. I did not do all this work for nothing.
You can get your license, like, or you can get like, I think your permit removed or something, or something can happen.
I'm just saying, like, if I did all this work for my license, I don't see why I have to be home by 10 o'clock just because.
I know, because how are you supposed to take road trips? You're supposed to drive for 50 hours. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't think
it's 50 hours straight. I think it's 50 hours total, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's 50 hours in total.
Okay.
Yeah, Lou's like, I gotta make all 50.
Like, that's a long road trip.
United States.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I think it's been a very informative podcast. I really appreciate our guest being here. I appreciate our students being here. And for anybody who's watching, thank you for watching the podcast, Jaden.
All right, everybody, please make sure you like and subscribe. You know, we're almost at 200. So make sure you guys like and subscribe, put the post notifications so you always be alerted when we post. And please send it to everybody that you guys know, and I hope you guys enjoy. Peace.
Awesome. Everybody have a good day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. You guys are so